Which is why House Speaker needs to be selected before Congress can be ready for President-elect Trump. Now, the vote expected to happen on Friday. President-elect Trump weighing in just literally 90 minutes ago. He said that Mike Johnson has his complete and total endorsement. Now, Florida Republican Congresswoman Cammack joins me now. So the first question, do you support House Speaker Mike Johnson to continue in that role?
Well, Happy New Year to you. And, it's interesting that Trump just weighed in, and I couldn't agree more with President-elect Donald Trump. He says we are the party of common sense. We have no time to waste. We have a mandate from the American people. Mike Johnson needs to be re-elected as Speaker of the House so that we can get to work. I think everyday Americans could care less about who is Speaker because what they want is for inflation to come down, prices to come down, to get government out of their business and out of their everyday lives, and that's what we have to do. We can't squabble over personalities and little things here and there. Now, of course, there are things that I wish we could have handled differently. I haven't always been thrilled with every decision, but that's life. Heck, if you're married, you don't agree with everything that happens and everything that your partner, your spouse, or even your coworkers do. So I think at this point, we have to think about the country, put America first, and get right to work.
This is what happened. All of this sort of debate happened after I talked with the Freedom Caucus, or the head of the Freedom Caucus, Representative Andy Harris. And this last week, this is what he told me on the show. Listen to this.
Before the last couple of weeks, I was, in his corner, but now I'm, we should consider what's the best path forward. And again, we reconvene on January 3rd. We obviously have a lot of important things to do in January, but we do need to consider whether, if we're going to advance Mr. Trump's agenda, whether the current leadership is what we need.
And as you mentioned 90 minutes ago, the President-elect Trump said, quote, Speaker Mike Johnson is a good, hardworking, religious man. He will do the right thing, and we will continue to win. Mike has my complete and total endorsement. Last week, Representative Harris told me that he had not heard from the president-elect since that CR sort of mess that happened there. Do you believe now Mike Johnson has the votes that he needs on Friday?
I know that there has been one public no, an affirmative no coming from my friend and colleague Thomas Massie, and many others like, again, my friend and colleague Andy Harris and others who have expressed concerns and reservations. And listen, again, last week, I was not happy about how the CR came down. I think that we have kicked the can down the road continuously, and it has led to a disaster in policy, which is why so many of us were putting our foot down. But this is a discussion and a debate that we've been needing to have. What kind of country do we want? Are we going to keep on kicking the can down the road or not? So when it comes to the votes, we're effectively in coalition government at this point because of the narrow margin. We no longer have the 20-30 vote majorities of the past. We're dealing with 2-3 max. So I think there's going to be a lot of discussions happening this week. And hopefully it comes down to people putting the country first rather than trying to bargain for TV time or clicks or fundraising dollars. Typically in the past, we've seen where they've spoken out, not because they want a different outcome, but because people see it as an opportunity to get something for themselves. So I'm hoping that we can put all the personality and self-interest aside.
I want to get your take on the debt ceiling. The president-elect Trump has said that it was a massive mistake not to suspend the debt ceiling. You have voted to keep the debt ceiling in place. What do you think happens March 14th then? And is keeping the debt ceiling in place the right move?
2 years ago when then Speaker McCarthy had put together a deal that suspended the debt ceiling indefinitely for 2 years, I raised hell then and said, this is ridiculous. We are going to have President Trump back in office and we're going to land this squarely on his shoulders. One, it's irresponsible. Two, it's not fair. And again, it is kicking the can down the road. So in no shape, way, form, or fashion have I ever supported a debt ceiling being lifted, because it makes very little sense that we campaign on cutting the size scope of government, cut spending, but then we say, hey, let's get rid of the credit card limit in order to cut spending. It doesn't make sense. Now, I understand that President Trump wants to have that authority and that flexibility to do what needs to be done. But we have seen time and time again, and certainly throughout my lifetime, where increasing the debt ceiling, suspending the debt ceiling, it just increases our deficits, puts our nation further in debt. And that is a problem because we have never seen a nation nation with this level of debt come back from the brink. We are at the tipping point, so we have to get very serious. I think what we have agreed to at this point, come March, is the offset for net mandatory savings versus the raising of the debt ceiling. I think that's a positive path forward.
Representative Cammack, in 30 seconds, I just want to get your take on this. Your President-elect Biden has announced another $2.5 billion in assistance for Ukraine. The Treasury Secretary this morning announcing $3.4 billion in direct budget support. Now, that's the final payment from the supplemental that was passed this year. What do you think about those?
It's a continuation of the America Last policies that we've seen for the last 4 years. And the notion that we're going to continue to deplete our munitions stockpile to give it to Ukraine for an endless war, well, it's just quite frankly the continuation of neocon adventurism around the globe that has put us in this position where we're weak at home, we're weak abroad, and I cannot wait until President-elect Donald Trump takes the oath of office so we can actually put America first. No more spending when we have too many needs here at home in Florida, North Carolina, places ravaged by storm. We have an opportunity to put America first, and it comes in 22 days.
Representative Cammack, I appreciate your time on this. January 20th, it's about 20 days away now. I appreciate it. Thank you.